A week had passed since Myun's death. To fulfill Myun's dearest wish, they summoned him using black magic. Although they succeeded, everything still went awry. Chon wakes up from a horrifying dream. He realizes he has forgotten something and that his alarm rang too late. He cannot understand why he dreamt of being in a relationship with his friends. He gazes at their group photo and apologizes to Myun. Jun sends him a message saying he is on his way and asks Chon not to be late. The boy tells his mother he'll be back soon. But before she can ask where he is headed so late, he has already stepped out into the night. A week had passed since Myun's death, and Chon had not yet recovered from the loss, despite dreaming of him today. They had been together for 20 years, drinking, having fun, and going out with girls. This unsettled him greatly. Bin appears before him, saying that he made it in time. Chon asks what he looks like. He explains that he had briefly laid down before heading out and had an incredibly strange dream. He adds that Chon was also in the dream. Chon realizes it is eerily similar to his own dream. He mentions that Myun appeared in his dream as well. Suddenly, Jun shows up and asks if they plan to get moving and what they are talking about. Jun remarks how unsettling it is to stand alone at the entrance at such a late hour. Chon tries not to think about his earlier dream. Jun asks if anyone else feels it's a bit chilly tonight. Chon replies that it's February, so of course it would be cold. The reason they gathered near the school tonight was to fulfill Myun's last wish, to summon him through magic. Even in life, he often voiced strange requests. Chon can't help but acknowledge the absurdity of what they are about to do. Yet, if they didn't go through with it, they wouldn't be able to move forward. As they step into one of the school's rooms, Jun asks if everyone has brought the items they were supposed to prepare. Chon brought the letter detailing the ritual. Jun brought the ingredients for the ritual. Bin brought Myun's hair and blood. The boys are eager to get it over with, their skin crawling with unease. For the ritual, they first need to turn off the classroom lights, prepare a table, fill a plate with rice, and a glass with water. Next, they must place a mirror in front of the plate of rice, surround it with candles, and light them. Afterward, they attach his photo to the mirror and sprinkle his hair over the rice. The blood must then be poured into the glass of water. All that remains is to open the window, leave the classroom, close the door, and wait for 30 minutes. The boys ask Chon if they truly need to go through with this. Bin comments that the realism of it all makes it even scarier. Jun asks if they really think Myun would ask them to do something harmful. Opening the window, Jun tells them to leave and calls them cowards. If they had come this far without backing out, they might as well see if Myun was simply teasing them. Suddenly, one of the candles begins to burn intensely. They wait outside the door for 30 minutes. The next step of the ritual requires them to approach the door and ask who is inside. Chon asks if they should do it together. The three of them knock on the door and ask who is there. According to the plan, if there is no response, they must open the door and gather the ritual items in reverse order. They step inside, and Chon remarks that he wants to believe, but it's nerve-wracking. He wonders aloud if they should apologize to Myun. Jun replies that they worked so hard that Myun must be satisfied. Suddenly, Bin notices that all the candles have gone out. At the far end of the classroom, they see a suspicious shadow. This terrifies them, and they suspect it might be a ghost. Suddenly, Myun appears before them with tears in his eyes, overjoyed that they truly summoned him. Bin faints and dreams of the same vision once more. Upon regaining consciousness, he sees his friends, and among them, Myun. He also notices a strange man in a black suit. He begins to scream, and Jun slaps him across the face, telling him to pull himself together. They explain to him that it's just the angel of death. The angel himself speaks, saying that now that the boy has regained consciousness, he can finally explain everything. The angel informs them that they have unwillingly summoned a soul that should have passed into the afterlife. He asks if they even understand the enormity of this crime. He warns them that black magic is not a game. The angel sternly tells them to listen carefully and reveals that their prank will soon cause the boy to turn into an evil spirit. Chon asks why, pointing out that it was Myun himself who requested the ritual. He asks if this means Myun will now transform into an evil spirit. The angel replies that this is no joke. As he already stated, Bin asks if the angel can simply take Myun with him. The angel says he wouldn't be able to, even if he wanted to. He explains that Myun's soul is now deeply connected to theirs. If he were to take Myun away, their souls would also suffer. He blames this on their use of black magic. Jun asks if this means Myun will inevitably turn into an evil spirit. The angel replies that there is one way to prevent this. By sunrise, they must turn him into a saint. They need to find a shaman, though the angel reassures them that Myung has not yet developed strong resentment or anger. He explains that Myung can become a saint if his wish is fulfilled, and his final wish was to have one last fun time together with them. Chon asks for a moment, pointing out that there is very little time left until sunrise. He wonders how they could possibly fulfill Myung's wish in such a short time. He asks if they can just undo the whole ritual. Myung asks if that is what friendship means to them. The boys tell him he shouldn't even use that word, and that it would have been better if he hadn't written such a ridiculous last request in the first place. They argue among themselves until the angel interrupts, demanding they listen carefully. The angel reminds them that he is the angel of death, not a teacher correcting their mistakes. He also states that he has many other matters to attend to, so they should stop wasting time and get to work. Jun asks Myung if there's anything he wants to share with them. Myung says he is incredibly happy to see them all again. Jun tells him to quickly state his wish so they can turn him into a saint as fast as possible. He adds that Myung should be grateful he's a ghost because otherwise he would have punched him. Myung admits he is simply happy to be reunited with them. He says he feels like he's already happy enough and ready to become a saint. Jun grabs a handful of salt and throws it at him, saying they're about to exorcise him. Myung begs him to stop and promises to reveal his wish immediately. Jun snaps that it's about time and demands to know what it is. Myung hesitates, then confesses that he wishes to kiss someone. Jun stares at him, asking if he really just said that. Myung says he feels embarrassed to repeat it, but Jun retorts that he's asking not because he didn't hear it the first time. Chon points out that Myung is a ghost and asks how he plans to do such a thing in his current state. He wonders aloud if there are any other ghosts nearby. Myung admits that the idea is a little scary. Myung asks them to calm down and listen to his plan. He proposes that he could possess one of them. The boys unanimously reject the idea. Myung insists that this way they could gain an invaluable experience to be proud of. Jun groans, saying they should head home first, as it's embarrassing to deal with this in the school. They leave the building. On the way, the boys urge Myung to just find another ghost to fulfill his wish. Myung refuses, adding that they all look awful anyway. Jun asks if he can actually see them. Myung replies that's exactly why he doesn't want to involve any of them. But Jun asks if that's the reason he decided to make such a request with his friends. Bin and Chon trail behind, observing the two, and wonder why they both kept dreaming the same dream repeatedly. They suspect the dreams were prophetic. Myung calls Jun his best friend and a true man, pleading with him to agree. He adds that Jun surely doesn't want him to turn into an evil spirit either. Myung warns that if he becomes an evil spirit, he will haunt Jun and scare him. Whispering into Jun's ear, Myung promises that if Jun agrees, he won't remember anything afterward. Either way, he insists, they will have to go through with it, but it would be better for Jun not to recall it. Jun considers that perhaps there really isn't a better option, and ultimately, they have no choice but to fulfill the wish. He realizes they might have to do this together as a group. He wonders if he can just stand by and watch. At home, Jun finally relents and tells Myung to possess him. Bin and Myung agree that it's a good decision, while Jun declares that as a man, he must sacrifice himself, as there's no other choice. Though deep down, it's really because he doesn't want to remember any of this later. He tells Myung to begin possessing him. Chon interrupts, asking who Jun plans to kiss once Myung takes over. Suddenly, Jun realizes that Myung has already entered his body. Now speaking through Jun, Myung responds, pointing out that they're asking obvious questions. He announces that he'll kiss both of them, which terrifies the others. Suddenly, Jun becomes conscious inside his own mind and scolds Myung for deceiving him. Myung replies that he only said Jun wouldn't remember anything, not that he wouldn't be conscious. Jun angrily demands that Myung leave his body immediately. Myung, however, says the boys are already ready and they proceed to kiss. Jun is shocked to find not only that he's fully aware, but that he can feel everything. Myung experiences all the kisses himself and, satisfied, decides to leave Jun's body. Suddenly, the angel of death appears and asks Myung if he's content now. Myung, startled, says the angel scared him and nervously asks if he witnessed everything. The angel replies, "Of course he did." The angel remarks that he's seen many young ghosts with such wishes, but has never encountered one who enjoyed it as much as Jun appears to have. Myung stammers, saying the angel misunderstood. His real intention was simply to stop them from arguing with each other. The four of them had been friends since elementary school. However, because Mayan was born with a frail body, he spent most of his life confined to the hospital. As a result, he often felt isolated. His friends tried their best to take care of him. But at times, they would share stories about things he couldn't understand, like what happened at school. In those moments, he felt a crushing weight in his chest, wondering why they talked about enjoying themselves in his absence. He was deeply afraid that they would leave him behind. He lived in this emotional state for years. He was the first to notice the subtle shifts in their relationships. One day, Chan visited him and asked if he had noticed that his dizzy spells had been happening more frequently. Mayan admitted that they had and casually remarked that he would likely die soon. Chan asked how he could talk about it so lightly. Mayan replied that he had one thing he wanted to do before dying and asked if Chan would listen to him. Without waiting for a response, Mayan kissed Chan. At that moment, Jun walked into the room. He quickly hid behind the door. Chan began to scold Mayan, reminding him that they were in a hospital, and asked what had gotten into him. Mayan realized that Chan and Bin both had feelings for Jun and knew they would soon find out that his time was running out. On another occasion, Mayan approached Bin and said he had a wish. Once again, Jun accidentally overheard their conversation. He saw Mayan kissing Bin this time. At that moment, Mayan only wanted their attention. He wanted them to focus on him while he was still alive and not find happiness without him. The angel of death now asks Mayan if he was so desperate to end up in hell. Mayan replies that it sounds frightening when the angel says it. Mayan admits that at the brink of death, he simply didn't want to leave behind any regrets. He confesses that he's afraid his friends will fight over him for the rest of their lives, and if that happens, he'll never be able to rest in peace. The angel remarks that this is rather selfish, but Mayan finds the angel to be oddly strange himself. Mayan says these conversations leave him feeling drained. He thanks the angel for listening, and the angel informs them that it's time. Suddenly, Mayan asks the angel to wait and leave them a note. The angel quickly writes it and departs with Mayan. The note wished his friends a happy life without him. When Jun woke up, he found himself in Chan's embrace. He panicked and kicked Chan off the bed. Chan hit the floor and asked what was wrong with him. Jun apologized, saying he was flustered by seeing Chan's half-naked body right in front of him. Suddenly, Bin hugged Jun from behind and asked if he was awake yet. Bin tried to kiss him, but Jun slapped him and asked what on earth he was doing. Chan joked that Jun had woken up full of energy, which was good, and asked how he felt. Jun snapped that it wasn't his business and told him to leave if he was awake. Jun said they shouldn't see each other for a while. He also told them to forget everything that happened today. Chan asked if that was even possible. Bin asks what happened to Mian and whether he successfully became a saint. Suddenly, they notice a note left by Mayan, urging them to be honest with themselves. Jun remarks that Mayan could have left them with a few kind words before departing. But instead, it feels like yet another cryptic message. He asks if this is just another one of his dying wishes. He starts to insult Mian, but Chan covers his mouth with his hand, telling him not to mock the dead. Jun asks what was so offensive about what he said. Chan replies that they should all just head home, reminding Jun that he had said he wouldn't be sleeping at home tonight, and if he stayed out longer, he'd get into trouble. He asks Jun to tell his mother that he stayed at Chan's house if she calls. Jun replies that it's actually true. As Chan walks down the street, he wonders if they really went through with it and what will happen to them after everything that transpired. Will they be able to interact the way they used to? He decides he needs to reflect on what happened tonight once he gets home. Bin tries everything to distract himself, but no matter how hard he tries, he can't stop thinking about what happened. He lies down on the floor, remembering that he had liked Jun ever since middle school. He realized his feelings in his first year of middle school. At that time, Mian had thanked Bin for the kiss. It was Bin's first kiss, though it was just a friendly request from Mayan, who had thought he might die without ever experiencing a kiss. And yet it was also the first kiss that Jun had witnessed. By confronting his own feelings, Bin began to understand the emotions of others. Soon, he noticed that Chon also liked Jun. Yet both of them had been pretending otherwise. They wanted to preserve their relationships and ensure no one ended up alone, but things turned out the way they did. Suddenly, Bin calls Chon. They meet up, and Chon asks what they should do now. He says that while it started as their deceased friend's wish, the three of them ended up doing it together. He adds that they have no one to consult about this, and it feels like they might lose their minds. Jun had claimed he remembered nothing, but Chan doesn't understand how something like that could just be forgotten. Bin agrees, saying it's very hard to forget a kiss with someone you like. Chan admits he wishes he could be as calm as Bin. He points out that they had never talked about their feelings for one another before. After what happened between them, he says confessing their feelings shouldn't even feel like a big deal anymore. Chan asks Bin what he thinks they should do. He adds that he can't stop thinking about Myeon's final words. He realizes that Myeon had also figured out their feelings for one another. Chan believes there's no point in hiding anymore and says he wants to confess everything honestly. Chan asks if Bin still wants to do this, even if it means their relationships might never be the same. Bin replies that their relationships have already changed forever. The die is cast, he says. Chon rises from the bench and confidently asks if they'll both confess everything to Jun and agree not to hold grudges. No matter who Jun chooses, they agree to this plan. They also decide that if Jun rejects both of them, they'll get drunk together to cope. In truth, Jun lied about not remembering anything. He vividly remembers the kisses and realizes he had enjoyed them a lot. However, he knows it can't happen again. After seeing Myeon kiss his friends, he believes they only kissed him because they were drawn to Myeon, not to him. Jun approaches Myeon's note and reflects on his message to be honest. He says to himself that maybe honesty is indeed the right choice. Outside, Bin and Chon run into Jun, who asks what they want. Chon asks if this is a coincidence. Jun asks why they came together. He jokingly asks if they're dating now. Bin dismisses the question, asking what Jun is even talking about. The friends ask Jun why he's there. He replies that he just wanted to yell at Myeon. Bin and Chon reveal that they came for the same reason. Chon quietly asks Bin what they should do, noting that they had planned to talk to Jun tomorrow since today is the day of remembrance. Jun wonders why they didn't even think to call him and why they showed up together. He suspects it's because they feel awkward around him after what happened. Chon tells Jun they need to talk and suggests heading to his house once they're done here. Jun asks if anyone is home. Chon says his mother is away on a trip with her friends. Chon offers Jun a soda, but Jun says he'd rather have plain water right now. When they sit at the table, Jun asks what they wanted to talk about. Chon turns to Bin, asking if he wants to speak first. Bin responds by asking if they're taking turns now. They decide to say it simultaneously, counting to 3. Jun splashes water on both of them and demands to know what they're secretly deciding together again. The boys explain that it's not easy to talk about. Jun begins overthinking, imagining the worst-case scenarios. What if they confess they were actually in love with Myeon? What if they say they feel guilty about everything that happened? What if they decide to end their friendship to atone for their guilt? Suddenly, Jun shouts, "No!" and slams his fists on the table. He's terrified that they truly want to cut ties with him. After all, they performed the ritual and kissed him only because of Myeon. So how could he possibly stop them? The boys say they want to talk about what happened yesterday. Jun blurts out that Myeon's spirit really did possess him, but he also felt everything himself. The boys are surprised. They had suspected it was possible, but wonder why Jun is suddenly bringing it up. Jun admits that he actually enjoyed it and has been thinking about it a lot. He asks if they remember the note Myeon left. He places the note on the table and says it reflects Myeon's final wish. Myeon had asked them to be honest with themselves, and Jun says he wants to experience everything again. After some conversation, Jun learns from them that it wasn't Myeon they had feelings for. It was him. Jun asks if the kisses he witnessed were really just part of Myeon's dying wish. He declares that Myeon was a total maniac and asks if they agree. Chun says that regardless, Jun now has to choose between the two of them. Bin says that Jun can choose whoever he wants, and Chon snaps, asking why Bin would even say that. Bin clarifies that they mean they'll accept any decision Jun makes and remain friends no matter what. Jun feels overwhelmed and unable to decide. It's all so sudden that he can't gather his thoughts. All he wants right now is to punch Myeon. He decides to set aside his thoughts about Myeon for now. He realizes that they like him and that he has to choose which one of them he'll be with, but he has no idea how to make such a decision. Ultimately, he decides not to make a choice for the time being and says he needs more time. At home, Jun reflects on how he never imagined that friendships with people he's known his entire life could take such an unexpected turn. Yet even now, he doesn't have clarity. Before he can decide who to choose, he feels he needs to understand Myeon's intentions. If the kisses were truly Myeon's dying wish, why did he ask for them from both of his friends? Did he like them both? But if that's the case, Why does it seem like Mayan was trying to bring them closer together? Did Mayan know they both had feelings for Jun? Why did he kiss them? To interfere? But for what purpose? And how could Jun possibly know what a dead person was thinking? He finds it hard to believe he has no one to share these thoughts with. Chon and Bin are his only friends, but surely this situation doesn't apply to them, does it? If he starts dating one of them, what happens to the other? There's no one to blame for dragging them into this ridiculous situation. He has to resolve it alone. Will he have to witness his two closest friends fighting over him? That thought feels unbearably sad to him. Meanwhile, Chon goes out for a run, thinking that exercise clears the mind. He plans to eat something when he gets back. Suddenly, he notices missed calls from Jun and a message saying Jun has thought everything over and wants to meet. On the way to meet Jun, Chon is shocked to discover that the meeting is at a motel. When they enter the room, Jun mentions how stressful it was when they checked his ID. Jun sees Chon lingering in the doorway and asks how long he plans to stand there. Chon hesitates and asks if meeting at a motel means that Jun has chosen him. Jun replies that he hasn't made his decision yet. He explains that no matter how hard he tries, he can't make a choice, so he's decided to leave it to chance. After spending time together, Jun tells Chon that he also has to meet Bin later today. Jun tells him to get dressed and leave the room quickly, but Chon is reluctant and asks if he can come along. Jun reminds him that he's meeting them one at a time and asks where exactly Chon thinks he's going. He asks if Chon intends to watch. Chon asks why he can't. When Bin arrives at the motel room, he learns that Jun plans to speak with each of them separately and then make his decision. That evening, they decided to leave things as they were. A month passed. Jun wonders if Mayan reached his final destination safely. He's unsure whether he should look up or down whenever he remembers him. He considers whether to place their group photo on the shelf and hopes Mayan is happy wherever he is. The boys struggled to find a frame that fit the note Mayan left. But eventually, they succeeded. They decided to date as a trio, rent their own place, and figure out a way to live harmoniously together. There was plenty for them to think about, but that could wait. If they were happy now, then they hoped Mian could rest in peace and truly become a saint. Meanwhile, Mayan walked for a long time down an unknown path with the Angel of Death. Mayan asks how the angel knows where to go since everything looks the same here. He thinks about how amazing it would be to tell his friends what the afterlife looks like. Mayan keeps trying to talk to the angel, but it seems like the angel can't hear him. Suddenly, the angel turns around and removes an earbud. Mayan asks when they'll arrive, as they've been walking for hours. The angel asks if Mayan interrupted him just to complain. The angel then says that, in fact, they've already arrived. Mayan looks around and sees nothing. But then, out of nowhere, a portal opens. The angel explains that if Mayan steps through the door and walks straight without turning, he'll reach a fork in the road. If he turns left, he will reincarnate. If he turns right, he'll ascend to heaven. Mayan admits he thought he'd end up in hell. The angel explains that Mayan died far too young for that. The angel asks if Mayan considers himself lucky, then gently nudges him forward, urging him to go. Mayan nods with both confidence and hesitation, saying he'll go. He thanks the angel for his care and understanding. Mayan places his hand on the doorknob. The angel turns away, thinking he'll finally get some rest. It seems like a routine shift, but for some reason, this one feels particularly exhausting. Still, he hasn't met such interesting people in a long time. Suddenly, Mayan shouts out in pain. The angel turns back and asks what the problem is. Mayan says the door won't open. The angel tries to open it himself, but fails. He wonders if the door might be broken. The angel shakes his head and says, "No, it just means you're not ready yet. Your soul still isn't free," he explains. He adds that something is still tying Mayan to the mortal world and asks what it is. Mayan hesitates before admitting there's only one thing that comes to mind. The angel tells him to spit it out quickly as his shift is over, and now Mayan is his full responsibility. After some reluctance, Mayan finally confesses that he'd like to experience a real kiss. Not in someone else's body, but in his own. He admits that it's strange, but after spending a little time in another body, his curiosity has only grown. Tearfully, Mian says it's okay though, and that the angel can just ignore him. He resigns himself to being discarded, as there's nothing he can do about it anyway. The angel replies, "Of course I can do something, I'm here, aren't I?" He then asks if Mayan would accept a kiss from him. The angel jokes that if he's not Mayan's type, he can change his appearance and asks what kind of guys Mian likes. Mayan quickly says there's no need to change. The angel asks if the issue is the setting, and then, without hesitation, gifts Myon his kiss.